Alrighty, what is going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. DDG94, back with another reaction video. Today, we finna react to the story of T.I. Yeah, this is one of my favorite rappers growing up. You know what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? Why not do a documentary? Why not do a reaction to a documentary on one of my favorite rappers that I listened to growing up? Without further ado, though, let's get right into it.
No male role models go to sleep alone at night. They took my uncle.
This is my bedroom right here. This is the trap. Rubber band, man. We used to wear rubber bands to signify like how much money, how much blow we had. You know what I'm saying? We had what, 3 rubber bands that'll probably hold about $5,000.
Tip was a real drug dealer. Like, he was making beats in the room. He had this piano. You know what I'm saying? He had the 6x9 speaker. The piano would be right here. The 6x9 speaker would sit on top of the piano, and the window was right there. And he would serve out the window with the dope in the speaker.
Does the name Tip ring a bell? Well, that was T.I. before he became a renowned rapper in hip-hop. He was a serial drug dealer as a teenager in New York and Atlanta, who gained many rubber bands, which were a symbol of how deep he was in the trade.
Rubber band, man. We used to wear rubber bands to signify like how much money, how much blow we had. You know what I'm saying? We had what, 3 rubber bands that'll probably hold about $5,000.
He was so deep that he gained the name Rubber Band Man, which reflects his impact as one of the hottest drug dealers of his time.
So we got T.I. at LAX. This is a good question. T.I. used to be known as the Rubber Band Man.
Oh wow, look at that.
It was impossible to believe that, despite those hurdles, T.I.P. would turn out to be one of the greatest rappers of all time.
Due to his family's financial situation, he found himself dealing drugs by his early teens to earn some money. Between the arrests and violence, T.I. continued to rap, selling mixtapes out of the trunk of his car to get his name out there.
But how did it all begin? Let's dive in. Clifford Harris Jr., well known as T.I., was born on September 25, 1980, and was raised in the Atlanta area of Center Hill. He was formerly known as T.I.P., a name given to him by his father as a kid. Tip resided in New York City for a bit. He often visited his father, who would later die from Alzheimer's disease. When Tip was at the young age of 8, he started rapping. At around the same time, he started doing talent shows. Soon enough, he discovered he wasn't the school type and made the decision to drop out of school. But what came after this? Let's find out. Like anyone Tip's age, it was about time to get on the streets. We all know the street comes with its baggage, which included big crimes like selling drugs and terrorizing the neighborhood. But it looked like Tip knew what he signed up for and was ready to take the swing.
And you come here at nighttime, man, you see that dude who just rode up and down that street on that bicycle? He was doing something, okay? And it's gonna be about 18, 19 more when the sun go down.
He started selling crack and became a famous crack kid back then. But just as soon as he ventured into the streets, he would have a taste of the consequence. His life would come to a drastic pause over a life-altering situation.
I was young and stupid, man. I might have been 17, 18.
So Tip was driving with no license one day, and he got pulled over with crack on him. It did not stop there. He would get arrested and eventually got 7 months in prison and 7 years on probation. But this would mark the beginning of a very brutal reality for him. The 7 years probation would haunt him even at the greatest peak of his career. After Tip had served and had gotten out of jail, he began to work on his talent, taking his music career more seriously than ever. The streets definitely did not have much to give, so Tip would head back to his drawing board. In 1999, he started to test the mics, and officially in he dropped his first song named I'm Serious.
Hey, take a good look at me. Now picture me unhappy. No cash and out of fashion, not flashing. Picture me doing.
The song's streaming was quite impressive and gave him a purpose. It also opened the platform to show his true potential to the industry. Gradually, he started to draw attention and gained a good number of fans as a newbie. This would encourage him to drop his first album named I'm Serious. Just at the time of the release, it had peaked at 98,000 on billboards in 2001 and sold roughly 270,000 copies. But this would just be his dash into the industry. He would go on to drop trap music. In it, T.I. brought the latest Southern sound to rap, and he definitely left a mark, with selling over 109,000 units the first week. In September 2003, T.I. was arrested after some security guards accused him and some friends of creating a disturbance at a mall. Not long after that, he was charged with battery on a law enforcement officer, trespassing, and disorderly conduct. In January 2005, he pled guilty to the charges and was sentenced to 18 months probation and 75 hours of community service. But this would unlock a misery about him. He had learned from these experiences, and T.I. knew that he had something different. Whilst discovering this misery, he met his wife, Tiny. She helped him stay out of trouble. But here's where it gets interesting. T.I. revealed that before he became famous, he had to take some risks for the sake of growth. He went to different clubs and caused a scene, especially fighting the bouncers just to get in, sneaky and driven. But he did that at the cost of some recognition and thirst for a better life. When he got in, he sold himself to the DJs and they would give him slots to sell himself. This greatly helped him as an upcoming rapper who didn't have anything but the streets. As he got famous, he dropped albums like In Day Streets, King, and Down with the King. All of these albums became successful that T.I. went ahead to open his own label, which he named Grand Hustle, and has established plenty of big artists including Travis Scott, Young D.R.O., Meek Mill, Iggy Azalea, and many more.
Y'all gotta stop this AI shit, bro. I hate when y'all do this, bro. This Young Dro, how do you get D.R.O.? How you can't, bro? These AI generated as videos are ruining YouTube, bro. I'm sorry. I gotta be the one to point it out, bro. These AI generated as videos are ruining YouTube, bro. We come here to, you know what I'm saying, get a good reaction, but it's like, it's not authentic because it's like niggas just do it AI and just putting shit out and they getting views off of it. And it's just like, the fuck? Mispronouncing shit and don't care. Like, you can correct this shit, bro, by just doing it yourself. Stop being lazy. So you sit up here, you chat GPT damn near everything, or you Wikipedia everything. You type the whole thing out, but you tell me you just can't put it, you can't type it out and say it yourself. That's lazy. That's like me doing my original content, but it's not my voice. Even though I do reaction videos. Come on, bro. Hate these type of shit.
On May 4th, 2006, T.I. and his entourage were involved in an altercation outside a Connecticut club named Club Ritz. Shots were fired and his close friend and partner was offed. The incident that led to the attack was not clear, but T.I. recounted that he had gotten into the back seat of a black van, while Johnson sat in front of him. He realized very quickly that something unusual was going on as their van pulled away and he saw headlights going into oncoming traffic from a vehicle that attempted to get alongside the black van. According to T.I., before I knew it, shots rang out.
I saw him coming.
You saw them coming?
Yeah, I saw him coming. Before they pulled up on the side of me, I saw him weaving in and out of traffic trying to get up to the side of us. I saw when they put the tools out the window. I saw all this.
He went on to explain that they came from the left side of the van and that he immediately took cover as an unnamed person in his van shot back. Following the shootout, people stopped to help others out of the attack. Luckily, T.I. had survived this unscathed, but Johnson tried to fight for his life. He was transferred from T.I.'s van to another van for the trip to the hospital, but he would not make it out alive.
Crowd spilled out to the parking lot. I got in to leave. Shootout ensued, and there was several people shot. One person died.
The person who died was Big Phil.
When T.I. was asked what Johnson looked like during the whole situation, he said with a disturbing gaze that his friend looked lifeless, describing the blood running down his friend's face, his shirt drenched in blood, and an entry wound on his left temple. After this situation, T.I. would stop releasing music for a while. He would dedicate his time on focusing on the business aspect of his life, taking the time to heal from the trauma. But whatever might have led to Johnson's death was not the first T.I. would ever face, considering his ties to the streets. Once upon a time, there was heat going on between Flip and T.I.
I'ma tell you what, Flip. I'm the leader of the troops. You just following suit. I got a question for anybody following you. What kind of take a picture?
It's with a leprechaun suit.
Who remembers this beef that eventually led to a standoff? So, back in 2003, just about the time when Tip had just begun to call himself the King of the South, Lil Flip head-on refuted that claim. This would raise tension that would resolve, but not fully. The following year, in 2004, T.I. was back in jail for violating the terms of his probation that stemmed from a 1998 conviction. While jailed, he did not have the power to take actions toward the pending situation. But the beef continued to brew over the next couple of months. Shortly after, there would be indirect occasions when these two Southern rappers decided to trade shots at each other. It did not stop there. They went a step further to even diss each other respectively in their songs and mixtapes. This got so intense that it would reach a boiling point, and it was at the time Tip had appeared as a guest on Houston radio station 97.9 and went ahead to further diss Flip. Well, it looked like he hinted a little, because he would later announce on live broadcast that he would be visiting Flip's Cloverland neighborhood to shoot a video exposing Flip as a fraud. It was not just talk of the mouth for Tip. He said the words and acted right on it. T.I. and his crew would indeed visit Cloverland, and let's just say they were ready to set the record clear. And of course, it looked like Flip and his goons are just as ready to collect T.I. and his boy. Something led to another, and the two groups would head to head. Both crews confronting each other at a detail shop near Cloverburger as the fight ensued. However, it might have gone down remains a mystery, but words were that T.I. would later go on the radio station to claim that they had recorded the whole incident and will release it with his next mixtape. But it just looks like that had bit the dust. Sometime in 2020, Lil Flip was a guest on Vlad TV, and like everyone knows of that channel, every tangled detail is revealed. Flip spoke unendingly about his beef with Tip during the interview, saying the feud ended when himself, T.I. and Jay Prince sat down for a face-to-face conversation.
It was face-to-face over the phone?
Nah, it was a meeting, face-to-face, you know. Me, him, and Jay Prince.
According to him, they kept the settlement between their trio, with everyone taking responsibility for their action. In his words, what we said was at an undisclosed location and cooler heads prevailed. You know, at the end of the day, it was some petty sheesh. That's what grown men do. Sit down and figure this shit out.
We'll say it was at an undisclosed location and, you know, cooler heads prevailed. And, you know, at the end of the day, it was some petty honestly, you know what I mean? But that's what grown men do. Going back to how T.I. moved on with Johnson's death, he released an album in 2007 titled T.I.P. vs. T.I.P. And just like any album that T.I.P. had ever released since his coming to fame, it was widely accepted that it opened the BET Awards doors of 9 nominations for him. But
that album is not it. I'm sorry, that album is not it. To this day, I will never get that album any recognition, bro. That album probably got like, I want to say 4 good songs on it at best. 4. Everything else on there,
that shit is fucking trash, dog. Get the fuck off the airwaves.
Yeah, I'll never acknowledge T.I. versus T.I.P.
It just looked like the dark cloud was already looming again. Another incident involving the law, and this time on a platform that could really have reversed his career. But it looked like that name T.I.P. was another personality on its own. So words were that he was arrested just hours before he was slated to perform at the BET Hip Hop Awards in Atlanta. He was thereafter charged with possession of unregistered machine guns and silencers in addition to the possession of firearms by a convicted felon. Let's not forget, he was earlier convicted on felony drug charges in Cobb County, Jatao, in 1998, which landed him a sentence of 7 years of probation, which logically had not ended as of the time of the incident. Authorities had been tipped off by the firearms dealer who had contacted the ATF that a person had inquired about buying a machine gun without registering the weapon as required. The person who this turned out to be was none other Tip's bodyguard, who was left anonymous throughout the uprising. It probably would not have been a big deal if Tip had actually kept his slate clean, but that was not the case. The bodyguard went on to divulge, admitting that he had bought 9 firearms for Harris and the performer had given him cash to buy guns 4 separate times. How interesting. The authorities would later swing in on him and hold him under arrest at a parking lot. On the spot, the agents discovered 3 firearms in the car Harris was driving. It did not stop there. They went further to search his home in East Point, southwest of Atlanta, and unsurprisingly, they found 6 guns.
Meanwhile, 15 miles outside the city, agents spent hours searching the rapper's home. According to court documents, T.I. arranged for a bodyguard to pick up $12,000 in cash from a local bank. The rapper then made arrangements to take possession of the guns Saturday afternoon.
T.I. was eventually sentenced to 1 year and a day in prison for illegally possessing machine guns and silencers. He was released from prison about 7 months after serving nearly a year behind bars, was on 3-year probation as a part of his plea deal stemming from the federal weapons charges. T.I. was also required to speak to students about the dangers of guns and drugs. He was in the best position and also wanted his freedom, so why wouldn't he? So when he got out, he tried to dedicate more time and seriousness on his music career, but how could that have been possible if he was going back just as he had returned? One day, he was with his wife Tiny in California. What seemed like a moment of reuniting turned into yet another tale of trouble. As they drove around town, they got pulled over. During the stop, the police had complained that they smelled a strong odor of marijuana coming from the couple's car. Long story short, and they both were on their way to jail. They were arrested for the possession of a controlled substance, and they had their bail set at $10,000. They would be released the next morning. T.I. would stay out of trouble for a very long time. He not only took the time to build his personal brand, he worked greatly on remaining relevant in hip-hop. But as 2018 came by, the alter ego Tip would be up facing another legal trouble. The gist went that Tip had reportedly lost his key and could not enter the gated complex. Despite attempting to prove he was a member of the community, the security guard on duty refused to let him in. Trust Tip to always throw it down where need be. He called out the security in a very aggressive manner.
Man, hit the motherfucking button. Man, hit the motherfucking button.
And as a matter of words on the street, T.I. was a little under the influence. But despite everything, the security remained calm and instead called the police on T.I.
Have you been drinking or anything tonight?
No.
I smell it on you.
Well, I'm not driving that car.
You was driving the other vehicle.
But I'm not driving right now.
But you was driving bigger.
I'm not driving right now.
Upon the arrival of authorities, he was arrested and charged with disorderly conduct, public drunkenness, and simple-ass law.
Put your hands behind your back.
He says I'm drunk.
You're not drunk. What you mean?
I smell all of you.
He says
disorderly conduct.
He says he smelled it. Then he says disorderly conduct. They just making something up.
Oh my God.
91. Stay right there.
On the way.
He was later released on bail of $2,200 that same day.
Hey.
Ever since, T.I. has maintained a low profile, but never the name of his family, because it looks like his child, King Harris, seems to be following the footsteps of his father. So sometime this year, King was taken to the DeKalb County Jail. For anyone who knows, he has been on the news for the most infamous things you can ever think about. So when he got arrested, his father used his influence to get him out, but that did not stop him from going on the gram, goofing. Another thing, I am a free man, stop God, I am not locked up.
And another thing, I'm a free man. Stop, goddamn, I'm not locked up. I'm straight. I was, but I'm back, I'm straight.
This video blew up online, especially on Instagram, drawing attention and reactions from users, some of whom are supposedly gang members. One person even commented, acting like he did 25 to life, he probably didn't even eat lunch. People weren't exactly kind about this action. More Instagram users got in, with one saying, he looks more like a cartoon character than a real person. Another added, this guy finished his ultimate life mission. He's got nothing left to prove to himself. The whole situation seems to have turned into a joke for many. Now, if you missed the update, King Harris was pulling out of a gas station in a BMW that day when he almost hit a cop car. The officer pulled him over. During the stop, the cop smelled weed and saw a gun on King's hip. Who could take after the father, if not the child? Long story short, the officer would his info, and he found out that King had a warrant for skipping court in Pickens County for past vehicle violations. That's where the situation flipped. The fun discovery was that the warrant found was tied to an August 2022 incident where King was charged with speeding on a suspended license while also driving under the influence. It's like history repeated itself, for his father, then for himself, and he sure faced the consequences, although the officer had commended Harris for cooperating all through the situation. In his own words, Mr. Harris was cooperative and I removed the firearm from his hip with no issue. I then had Mr. Harris step out of the vehicle and I detained him by placing handcuffs on him. I escorted Mr. Harris to my patrol vehicle, conducted a pat-down, and placed him into the rear of my vehicle. In deeper reports, Harris wasn't alone at the time of the arrest. He had a couple of friends with him, and they ended up getting charged for the possession of excessive marijuana. Even Fox 5 had reported about his arraignment notice, claiming that he returned. That is to say that he most likely did not even know about his court date. He was later released to Pickens County after his arrest, and the warrant was lifted. Of course, the streets had a lot to say, especially since Harris's dad, T.I., is a well-known figure. Besides being a well-known figure, he was not a stranger to this path his child was trailing. One comment on Instagram summed up the general vibe. This the type of life he wants. His dad continuously tries to school him and he continuously wants to play the ghetto hood ninja. Another person added saying, parents usually fail their kids, but this kid here failed his parents. And the one that really took the cake was someone saying, to I right now, due to the nature of your atrocities, I'm gonna let you have a reflection period. Once you've had your epiphany, I'll provide the necessary funds to get you out of jail. It's almost like T.I. is catching some of the backlash from King's actions. Still, most people seem to think T.I. is genuinely doing his best to raise him right. Before this latest drama, back in 2022, a similar thing happened, but T.I. did self-justice and went on Instagram Live and didn't hold back in calling out his son. He said, if he got and keep that ST up, he's going to prison. Ain't no way around it. Ain't nothing I'll be able to do about it, he said. Cause I know that energy. I was that energy. I know exactly how it's gonna turn out. T.I. also admitted that he's done everything he could to discipline King, but now it's up to him. He done got all the whoopings and punishment, T.I. said. Did everything as a child you could do to him. So now you're gonna have to go through it and get through it, and ain't nothing that me and mama or nobody else gonna be able to say about it. Could it be that T.I.'s past may just be catching up with him in a funny way? Leave us your comment.
Hey.
It's time for molecular transmutation.
Hey, go back. Hey man, it is what it is though. It is what it is though. I don't really keep up with what happened with his son. I know he was in and out of jail a lot, but I didn't really care too much about it. It ain't got shit to do with me. But anyways though, that's just gonna about do it for this one, man. They didn't really go in depth like I thought they would, but then again, this is an AI generated video, so we'll just take it for what it is. But anyway, so I'll see y'all in the next video. Till then, peace out.